Hi everybody, my name is Steve Anderson. I'm 34 years old and I live in Jacksonville, Florida. I was born in Charleston, South Carolina, but spent much of my childhood living in different places due to my father's job with civil service. I spent much of my younger years, from about the ages of 4 to 11, on the U.S. Naval Base in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. I guess you could say I come from a rather large Navy family, with both sets of grandparents having served, as well as numerous other family members. I have one sibling, a younger brother, James. He's 30 years old, and he too serves in the Navy, and he's a U.S. pilot stationed at NAS Jacksonville. He will, however, be transferring to Hawaii next month and will be stationed there for the next couple of years. I'm also married to a beautiful Nicaraguan woman. We've been married almost 6 years, and up until literally about 10 days ago, it was just the two of us and our two dogs. She just gave birth to our first child. His name is Liam James Anderson. I would describe my family as very hardworking. Both of my parents have held down their prospective careers for 30 plus years now. They've always stressed the value of hard work and a good education. I would have to say that the most memorable part of my childhood was actually living on the base in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. Gitmo is a very unique base, and the island of Cuba and the Caribbean in general are so beautiful that I was truly fortunate to spend a great deal of my youth there. I'm sure I would appreciate it more as an adult. I have many interests, hobbies, and passions. However, my top 3 favorite things to do are surf, travel, camp and hike. I kind of group camp and hike together. And those are all probably in an effort to find more surf. A typical weekend for me, if I'm not working, would be scoring some waves in either Jax or St. Augustine Beach, working in the yard, taking the dogs to a dog park, and grilling something in the evening while listening to music and enjoying a good glass of wine. I enjoyed watching some Gators football, and yes, I'm even a fan of the Jacksonville Jaguars, even though they're not very good. I don't play too many sports anymore, but in my younger days I was a track and field athlete, specifically a sprinter in the 100, 200, and 400 meter events. I was also an avid soccer player and swimmer. Nowadays, I just lift some weights here and there, all in an effort to keep in shape so I can surf and hike a little easier and perform well at my job. I'm studying or finishing my degree in health education and behavior. Currently, I'm a firefighter and paramedic for St. Johns County Fire Rescue Department in St. Augustine, Florida, and I've been employed there for just over 10 years. I have, however, worked in the medical field for almost 13 years, and I began my career as a first responder and an emergency medical technician in the emergency room and level 1 trauma center at Shands Jacksonville in downtown Jacksonville, Florida. I have basically made my way up in the medical field from the very basic first responder to paramedic, and my career goal is to become a physician assistant. I will be applying to schools for that this fall. I am fortunate to have traveled to many different places around the world, but I do want to see more. I've been to Cuba, as I said earlier. I've also been to Sayulita, Mexico, to surf. I've been to Hawaii to surf, and I've been to Nicaragua, yes, to surf. I've actually been there a few times, and not just to surf, but my wife is from there, so I do other things other than surf when I go. I've also been to Spain, and I'd have to say that's probably my favorite place I've been so far. I'd love to go back to Europe and see other countries, but so far Spain was great. I've also been to numerous other states and cities throughout the country. I'm taking Spanish for a multitude of reasons. First, as stated previously, my wife is Nicaraguan, and she speaks fluent Spanish. I've been with her for over 10 years now. It's a little embarrassing, to say the least, that I don't know more at this point. Also, we want to raise our child right from the start, being fluent in both Spanish and English, and I figured what better time to learn than to learn now along with him. I did take French in high school, but I didn't really learn it. It was just more of that 2-year requirement, so I'm really hoping that I learn Spanish. I kind of feel like I have to at this point, so I'm going to take this one much more seriously. I can see how learning Spanish would benefit me in the future in a million ways. For one, my decision to continue my career in the medical field as a physician assistant means that I will most definitely be exposed to a variety of different people, especially Spanish-speaking people, if I decide to stay here in Florida. I would love to be able to speak fluently to my patients without having to rely on an interpreter. Also, because I love to travel to Nicaragua and other Central and South American countries, I want to be able to get around with ease and not rely on my wife to translate everything for me. I plan to continue to study Spanish by immersing myself in the language here at home by speaking to my wife, child, and her family as much as possible. With all that being said, I look forward to seeing all of your introductions and working with all of you this semester. Good luck, and go Gators!